Hey, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things, starting part 2 of the March paper pumpkin. Here's to You is what it is called. I've already done the prep for the stencils and the sponge, which were free gifts, and did some beginning stamping projects and published that. So now we're on to phase 2 or part 2, and I will have to admit that I was supposed to go away and cut up all of the materials, but I immediately instead was obsessed with the stencils. So I've just now sat while that video is going on the laptop getting ready to publish, and I've now broke out the materials and want to share what I've done with them so far. So we have some skinny bits, die cuts, and what I've done with those, the white ones, which are the labels to stamp on, I just cut them out and I will trim off the little chads. I didn't see any extra material to save from the frame part. However, on these guys, they were attached by horizontal lines, so I went ahead and took my trimmer and cut. So you got 4 yellow, 4 light coral, and 4 green. But in between each of the rows were these different strips. So I now have a whole bunch of extra strips, either double color or single color. So that is one added supply. Oh, and then here's a green that was just nesting in. So these are almost as thick as the green. So I thought they were definitely worth cutting off. So I got 2 sets of those, and this part will be thrown away. For the, I think this might be Petal Pink card base, I cut down the middle, and then I cut apart the mountain scene. So I have, put all these off to the side. I have 4 extra bits. I chose to cut top and bottom and then the sides. And then I will show you the mountain scene in a minute. I did a treatment to it. So those are some extra pieces to have. One of the full scenes, here it is. Looks like that one got munched. I was not very careful with it. I cut into a triptych, so I will play with something. I might have to, this is the full width, so we'll see if I need to trim it down at all. Right now they are, it's 3 3/4 wide, so it's 1 1/4 inch wide strips. Can't wait to play with those. And then I brought out some embossing folders. Definitely this, with having so many card bases, as well as the envelopes and then the inserts that are separate from the envelopes, there's a lot of material that can be altered with embossing folders. And I already mentioned that these are a white base. So the back half of the mountain scene card I have embossed with, and I verified this time. I have been not being the best at verifying that when I grab a embossing folder that it is current still. So this is current. I verified. It's called Ornate Floral. And this is a particularly busy scene, so that it doesn't matter whether the flowers are popped up or not. If it does matter to you whether they're popped up or not, be sure to run a little test first. And I actually cared about whether it was up or down on the second embossing folder that I will share in a minute. So this one, I did not find the fancy purple sanding block, but I found this sanding block in my husband's disc golf bag, and I was going to go ahead and do some sanding on it to bring out those flowers. I'm not using a lot of pressure. This is a pretty coarse sanding block. So you can see how the white core is showing through, which is just a lovely treatment. All right, so that's ready to do something with. For the mountain scene and the craft envelope material, I brought out the pine wood plank, which I have confirmed is still current as well. And it is called pine wood planks. So I went ahead and did the treatment on the planks using Sahara sand. No, soft suede. So I took the logo side, applied the soft suede, which was for the skinny lines, so that when I then embossed it, all of the line details ended up getting a little bit of color. I didn't want to go with early espresso. I wanted it to have a softer look, so that's why I went with the soft suede. This same embossing folder, I then decided I wanted to actually run the mountain scene through, but I wanted to do a test first to make sure that I had the correct thin lines as the mountain popping up on the paper. So I did a test, and it's on the back of the stencil flyer that came with it. Upside down means logo down. Right side up is logo up. So when I look at this, I want my sanding block to be sanding the thin lines, not the flat surfaces. So if I had the logo up, which would be the correct way, the way that this embossing folder really is intended to be used, and I sanded over here, I would be sanding the flat, all the color off of the flat. I want to sand the color off of the sharp detail lines. That means I need to put the scene upside down. So that is what I did. Let's get so you can see it more clearly. That's what it looks like. And now I am going to see how this block works. I know that the lines, the fat lines for the planks, between the planks, is taller than the wood grain in between the planks. So I'm actually purposefully making sure I get in between the planks to get the wood grains. And I'm not applying a lot of pressure at all. So this will make a lovely distressed card. And you get to do this to up to 4 of them if you would like this look to be on all of them. So my biggest message is make sure you understand what is going to happen when you run your embossing folder through with logo up or logo down, because you may actually want it to be the opposite of what it's intended for to get the sanding surface the way you want it. And there you have it. So that is, I'm looking around, I think that's all I have for materials prep for the more advanced cards. I am going to go away now and work on them. I do have sitting out 2 other embossing folders. I'm not sure if I will use them. I'm not thinking I will. It is, let's make sure this one's current. I did not look. Yes, this is called Meadow Moments. There's actually a leaf-only version and a flower, butterfly, and vine version, and I do really like this one as an alternative to the blossoms. If you wanted to add more more little bits to the scene, you could use this one, and you can run it through twice. And the other one that I chose not to use, and you might be thinking of it already, is the Evergreen, which was a carryover from the holiday catalog. And I already did confirm that this one carried over. It's called Evergreen Forest. And it has a forward swath of trees that are a harsher line, more flat, and then some more distance trees. And I attempted, and I wasn't too happy with the result on the green. So I'm already going to tell you, if this comes to mind like it did for me, I think you'd have to think it through and do some experiments to figure out, because the forwardmost trees, they're flat. And then the further back trees are softer with little more detail, but a softer look to them. So trying to make sure that you get the right logo front. I actually ran this through logo back, and I wasn't very happy with it, and didn't think logo front would work either, because these front trees would be flat surface, so they wouldn't I wouldn't want them to have the white. And it's so deep that it pre-cracked down into the dip, so my sanding probably wouldn't work. Now I might go away and see if I can sand this, but I'm just going to forewarn you, if this is on your mind, be sure to think it through first. And I am going to probably not use it for today, mainly because there's so much to do as it is. I just have to draw the line somewhere, or I could work on this kit for a week. So I'm going to go away now. You might be, before I go away, one more piece. There were 8 of these, and I did toy with the cutout pieces here as maybe being stencilable, but this right here in between the 3 trees is very, very delicate. So I am opting to not do anything with this piece, but keep it in mind for yourself if you can think of a clever way to reinforce these pieces, attach them somehow with paper. It just feels like there should be a stencil that could be made out of this. So I will, though, for the interest of time and not taking forever, I will not be working on that. So I'll be back soon with some more information, or possibly the final alternative layering reveal. Alright, I am back. It is now dark. Because it was getting dark, I stopped and took time to do photography. So as I'm going through these examples, I might not get the ones that I show you live in the showcase, because the showcase could just be huge. It's endless. There's so many different possibilities. So I want to do a quick rundown of the materials that I pulled. I didn't pull very many items. And then we're going to start with my beginning stamping projects that I already went live with, and I've done some things to them to dress them up. So I was going to show those. And then I'll finish up with some Avid examples. First, the paper I pulled, the Seaside Spray, Old Olive, and Calypso Coral. We already have the Petal Pink and the Pretty Peacock that I've shown you some treatments, because these are white core, whereas the Stampin' Up! Cardstock is solid core, so you can't really get that effect of having the white show through when you sand. I'm using sequins from Woven Threads, which was out for my retiring in color projects that I'm going through right now, that I had to pause so that I could do Paper Pumpkin. It has the Seaside Spray, Pretty Peacock, and it has Rococo Rose, which is, not Rococo Rose, Terracotta Tile. And if you see the Terracotta Tile on the Calypso Coral, it's in the same family. So that works really well. And then there's white sequins. So we've got lots of sequins to play with. I want to show how you can take the same scene and feminize it or make it more masculine with some simple changes to the materials that you use. And most of the materials are from the kit. So the first ones I want to start with, I played with the beginning layouts that I had created that I stamped with you guys. So the first one here I trimmed down just to make it look nice, and it happened to fit. I didn't actually measure that it would fit, and it fits nicely. You could do something with this layer. You could add a couple of different mats. The last material that I forgot to mention is the lovely Love You Always foil sheets. This is the Blushing Bride, which also is just got that pinkish peach tone to it that coordinates. And you could do strips. I actually have some strips here, but since I wanted to show this card a variety of ways, I didn't want to add the strips, trim them down, but this is what it would look like if you had the strips. So I think that would be a nice way to feminize these using just the Calypso coral. Then I took, as I trimmed it down, I have this kind of fancier sentiment arrangement that I created for a different project, and I put it on here, and it goes very nicely. You can, of course, add the linen trim. I have some sequins here. And then if we want to get really crazy, you could go one step further, I think, with these clouds that we have in yellow and peach. And I am going to take them, oh, they're over here on a, popped up already. And I think it would be just fine and very cute to add these clouds, making it a more artistic type of card. Moving a sequin out of the way. And yes, I did stamp those birds on the yellow. I just felt that was required. So there's some ideas of what you could do with this particular scene that I created. The next scene, I did a little work on it. I added some clouds. I added, with the mask, along the top of the mask, the clouds go reverse. I mentioned when talking about the masks that you have to think about how you want the positive versus the negative. So these were all the positive side, and then here we're using the negative for the appearance of clouds. At the very top, I just wanted to show that. I had a boo-boo right down here by the tree, so I cut that off. I added some clouds going off the other side, and I just set it on this card base. And I think that you could do any number of, here, I will even cover those birds because we don't need two sets of birds. And you could add these strips. You can then add this fancy sentiment. Now we still have, I liked the 3D of the mountain range, so that was cool. And then you can add the sequins and twine however you wanted to. This one to me feels the way it is, just not necessarily masculine or feminine, even with the strips. So this is a nice design that I think I just love the full scene that somebody would make, and you can proudly say you made it, and it definitely is a universal. The next one, a little bit more on the feminine side, is this long strip that I made where I repeated the flowers. It's going to be horizontal. Now yes, technically this is a little bit crooked, but I think it actually works. It has enough busyness that even though I know my eye says it's crooked, I think for the most part it's still a very usable piece on a card. So I went ahead and did a treatment on the pretty peacock using the the thinner embossing folder, and you can see where I did half on one side then flipped it, and they're not connected, but I knew that how I was going to use this would be with this long strip that would cover the middle. And I had a picture already on the previous video where I added the trim along the soil of the flowers, and you could add that, and this card is just a really easy one to get adjusted to make it a more casual to advanced card for somebody who wants to go a couple steps further. Then there's still the Here's to You. I don't know how well that would work, but let's just check it out. You could cover or make your floral scene, change your colors of your background, and lay this over the top and do any kind of fancy sentiment using these different strips to layer them up. I just cut this at an angle. You could do fishtails, angled or flat ends, doesn't really matter, just in whatever you like. And I think that dresses this one up. I really like this particular panel a lot. I like how that came out, and it was very easy to make. All right, I have two more lurking basics that have gone into hiding. I bet they've been flipped over and the backs of them are being used. I think I know where it is. And then we'll get, here it is. I was using this. So this is the really simple one. It was the top of my sample. Here's my two different styles of mountain ranges. And these could be cut into strips like I did for the earlier photography, and just added, you know, wherever you want to put them with whatever nice background treatment fits your style. You could decide to do some blocks. That looks very nice. This is actually a full-size envelope. I left it full-size, but there is a second one that I did a treatment to. And I hope if I pull it out of this fancy card that I'll remember that I took it out. So if you have this as your base, I sponged around the edges, which mimics this stencil sponging. You could pop this up. I'll just take my mini dimensionals and use them as my pretending it's popped up. Throw on a couple of sequins. You can add a bow. And this is another, like, I think this is the simplest kit to make nice looking cards. It lends itself, I think, to clean and simple. And so it's easy to just put a couple pieces together with your scene done on white with these two backgrounds. Now there's the flower background. That to me isn't quite as interesting. For this particular scene, I like the cubes better. And I have trimmed this one down so it's not going to be as good a fit. But as you can see, the colors coordinate, and this of course gives it a much more feminine look. And then the last one that I wanted to show was the repeated happy birthday. Can pretty much get put raised up. What I did on this is I just put some dimensionals behind. This is where I had pearls and I've colored them, and the sheet is gone. It's actually a plastic sheet, so it's gonna last a long time. So I use it as my fake popper upper. So this one is kind of an on the fly, and we still have clouds. So we have a sort of a scene. We have this busy background. Yeah, here we go. And then you have just 3 popped up elements. And we can even put it on white, I believe. It will be matted. There you go. So I think that that works really well. And that finishes off dressing up the beginner simple projects, making them casual, a little more dressy. And again, I don't know if I will get the photographs of what you just saw, but I do have a bunch of photography for the more advanced projects that I probably will not remember all of the different variations that I made. So let's start with this element. I really like the look, the distressed look. However, there's the white mountain, so I was thinking I could distress the edges with scissors, I could sponge the edges, but instead I actually was drawn to the clean look of the white. And then one possibility, this is a full size, so this is the sample that I showed you with the inked embossing, dry embossing folder. And it's full size, so I can't show you. I would have to trim this down, but I haven't trimmed it down. And then there's any number of sentiments that you could place. What I really think is cute is kind of make it look like a signature piece, where this is where somebody's signature would go. And I think that this looks really cute, leaving just this empty space. And then the sequins can be the odd color out. So I think I would do placement wise, him over. And I think that that is very fun. And you could add the twine bow anywhere. You could put it up here at an angle. Now let's take this whole thing and move it off of the wood grain. If I'm looking to make this really feminine, taking a soft color and with a floral sanded really gives this a nice soft feminine look by just changing the background. And I'm going to pop this up because I want to see it popped up. So this has 2 layers of being popped up, but I still think that I could mail this because I don't have pearls. Sequins are pretty flat as an embellishment. And I think that that is very cute, very feminine. I haven't even looked because I created this pretty peacock background last after I was already done scoping out the scene. And I do believe that you could easily put that on the pretty peacock, and then this is trimmed down. So was the peach, or the blushing bride, and I really like that also. Maybe change up the sequins to my liking. I just really like this happy birthday being up in as if this is like a piece of art. All right, so that takes care of the mountain scene. I have another scene created a completely different way, and I wanted to show it on this background as well as on this background. So we'll start with the rectangles. I created a special strip for this to fit right underneath that. Popped up a simple here's to you. With the yellow snuck up underneath the tree. Moving all of this down a little bit because I want this guy at the top. I love the crisscrossing of the vertical and horizontal elements. Very line oriented. And I do have a picture of this one for sure, because this one I worked on a while ago. Alright, so that is one look. And then taking the exact same pieces and you put them on the floral. And I believe that it instantly feminizes it. And you could sponge the edges of this if you want to add more zip to it. And here's to you. And again, you could go ahead and add sequins. If not, it's pretty busy. But I'll show what they look like. And so it instantly, between these two papers, goes to my eye from masculine to feminine. And that's even with having the masculine sponged and the feminine not sponged. So I really like this design. And then my last fancier piece, and again I have lots of fancy photos of layering up things, changing out the backgrounds. The other background that would look good with that I didn't show, maybe I should show it because I did really like the look, this clean woodsy look. I would have to trim down the wood to make it line up perfectly, but it's just got a very different feel to it. A very woodsy country feel. Also very masculine. Love this one a lot. I don't think I have a photo of this, but I'm not sure. So keep that wood, pine wood planks in mind for those envelopes, because I think you could do all sorts of things with this. So we're gonna then lead right into my triptych that I talked about, the triple pieces that I cut up, that of course I need to find. There it is. So this triptych, I left it the full size, trimmed it down to 1 1/4 for each piece. And I think you could pop these up, leave them like like they are. You could sponge them if you wanted to, but I wouldn't do the Calypso coral, I don't think. I think that I was liking like groups of 3. And have multiple happy birthdays, and then some fun sequins. And I was using the light ones. And I didn't put any, I have pictures of this a couple of different ways. Again, I haven't trimmed this to match, but I wanted to show that it looks just fine not being trimmed down to match. But I originally envisioned it on this pretty peacock because that's the color in the clouds. It's the lines, the line art. And I did trim this one down specifically for the triptych. And you would just have to trim down your base a little bit. So the top and bottom on this got trimmed down a tiny bit. And then still with the, oops, oh, and you could actually put them out of order. And no one would know. All right, so there we go. See, this is like one of the, I could just endlessly mix and match like a puzzle, every single one of these. It would be never ending. This is like the never ending kit. And then eventually I would run out of materials, and then I could just go cut more materials and keep going. All right, so this is the last one that I wanted to show. I'm sure I'm forgetting something really important, but I've hopefully given enough ideas for you to be very creative with this kit. Let me know what you think of this kit in the comments. I really like it. You know, I always love scenes, love the mountains, grew up in the mountains, and so anytime I see mountain stamps, I love them. So this is definitely going to be in my keep forever stamp set. There's very few that I don't really enjoy. So I want one more as I'm doing this. So I would love to know what you think of this kit. The colors are a little unusual, but I think it works. I like, again, that they picked some masculine colors and some feminine colors. So here is the fancy triple sentiment that I made, and then I still think you could, just to make it a little more artsy, I think you could always add, here, I want the popped up ones, these overlay popped up images. So let's do this and this. And that concludes the March kit. I have now spent all day. I have so many other things I need to get to, but I was not going to stop until I finished. And so, again, let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions about any of these techniques that I've shown today, pop them into the comments on the video or over on my blog. I will have a blog article for this one with the supplemental materials that I have chosen. And I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and thanks for watching.